Now, it's sad for me to sit here and say that although we live in one of the richest countries in the world, we have a growing homeless problem. Now, did you know the fastest growing homeless population in America right now isn't teenagers? And it isn't addicts. It's people over the age of 55. They are living in cities like Phoenix, Los Angeles, and Seattle. These are people who worked their entire lives, paid into the system, and did everything they were told to do. Now, I want you to sit back and relax and listen to something you won't hear anywhere else. I'm David Tomsic, and welcome to Clear Signal. If you think this can't happen to you, that's exactly what the last generation of retirees thought too. This isn't a story about people who made bad choices. Now, HUD's own point-in-time counts show adults 55 and older are the single fastest growing age group in America's homeless population, outpacing every other demographic. Not because they stopped trying, but because three systems that were supposed to protect them quietly stopped holding up their end of the deal. Let's take a look at the actual math here. In 1980, the majority of private sector workers with retirement benefits had a defined pension benefit, a guaranteed monthly check for life funded and managed by their employer. By 2020, that number had collapsed. Today, it's a small fraction of the companies that offer pensions. So, you might ask what replaced it. Now, many of you already know this, the 401k, a plan where the risk moved from the company to you. Here's where the situation gets sticky. A defined benefit pension doesn't care if the stock market crashes the year you retire. A 401k absolutely does. Federal Reserve data on retirement account balances shows the median 401k balance for people nearing retirement is nowhere close to what's needed to replace even a modest pension check. And that's not a good trade-off. And it didn't happen by accident. There's a design here. Corporations save billions in pension obligations. Wall Street got a permanent flow of new investment fees. And the risk, all of it, landed on the person who had no seat at the table when the deal changed. If you made it this far, you already know this isn't theoretical for you or someone in your family. Please subscribe right now, hit the like button, and share the video so the next person in your circle sees the math before they get their eviction notice. Now, this channel exists to hand you the receipts no one else will. Stay with us. Next, let's talk about institutional investors. REITs, an investment trust owned by private equity-backed landlords, have spent the last decade buying up single-family homes and rental portfolios at a scale that didn't exist a generation ago. When a corporate landlord owns thousands of units across a metropolitan area, rent increases aren't a local decision anymore. They're a portfolio-wide strategy coordinated to maximize yield for shareholders. At the same time, Social Security's cost of living adjustments, known as COLA, the annual raise meant to keep benefits in line with inflation, is calculated using a formula that tracks urban wage earner spending, not the actual basket of costs retirees face. Rent, healthcare, prescription drugs. The COLA has not kept pace with real rent inflation in metropolitan areas where corporate landlord ownership is the highest. Now, here's what they didn't tell you. When your fixed check doesn't move and your rent does, the gap between the two widens. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. People should have saved more. People should have planned better. And why don't you pull yourself up by your bootstraps while you're at it? Okay, personal responsibility matters. Nobody's saying it doesn't. I'm not saying it doesn't. But these are people who did save, who did work 40 years plus, who did pay into Social Security every single paycheck. The rules of the deal changed after they'd already made their choices. You can't retroactively blame someone for not preparing for a system that didn't exist yet when they made their plan. So here's my theory, and it's not very complicated. Three institutions: corporate America, institutional real estate capital, and a federal COLA formula written decades ago. Each of them shifted risk onto retirees in isolation. No single one of them intended to create a homeless crisis, but stack a collapsed pension system on top of corporate landlord rent inflation, on top of a benefit check that structurally can't keep pace, and you get exactly what HUD's numbers are showing us right now. This isn't a conspiracy, and simpler and more damning than that. 3 separate cost-shifting decisions made decades apart by people who never had to sit in the same room together and answer for the devastation it caused American retirees. Nobody designed this outcome, but it was built anyway. So here's what to watch for. HUD's next point-in-time count. Expect the 55-plus homeless share to continue to climb, especially in metropolitan areas with the heaviest institutional rental ownership, places like Phoenix, Atlanta, and parts of Florida. Second, watch state-level senior eviction and non-payment filings. Several states are starting to track this separately because the volume is becoming impossible to ignore. Keep an eye on any congressional movement on the Social Security COLA formula. If they decide to swap it for one that better reflects senior costs, that, of course, would be an admission that the current one is broken by design. And it took a homeless crisis to force the conversation. Now, for those of you who want to blame the retiree for the mess they find themselves in, keep in mind that this was never about bad decisions. It's about 3 systems: a pension model, a housing market, and a benefit formula that all quietly shifted their individual risks onto the people with the least power to push back. The person sleeping in their car in a Phoenix parking lot right now didn't fail. The systems around them succeeded at exactly what they were redesigned to do. Homelessness is no joke, and we all have to do our part to end homelessness. Jesus said, "Who is your neighbor?" I think you know that answer. If you know someone who worked their whole life and is now doing the math on whether they can afford both rent and medication this month, send them this video so they know it isn't their fault. Let's join together with them and let Congress hear our voice. Fix the system. It's the right thing to do. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time here on Clear Signal.